G'day guys, my name is iRidetas and this is Project Gilby, looking a damn sight cleaner, better adjusted and fully fettled than when you last saw him. Spent the last couple of days cleaning, fixing, adjusting, riding, adjusting, riding to get him into roadworthy so I could feel how he performed, what his characteristics were, before I set to work modifying the hell out of him, so I can sort of understand whether the modifications I'm doing have improved his handling characteristics or made them worse. So previous V-Star I owned, I didn't actually ride standard, so I wanted to do a few hundred kilometers on Gilby in completely stock form, so I understood his characteristics. And I think it will be a better idea. So I now know what he's capable of, and I know whether I'm doing improvements or just making him worse. One of the biggest problems was the lack of back brake, and that's now fixed. A lot of the problem was that someone had never heard of using notches to adjust how straight the wheel is, and so it was out of alignment. It was a long way that way, and so this rear brake actuator cable was too slack. Once I sort of put the wheel in straight and adjusted it, and it gave a few turns on the threaded rod here, back brake came back pretty quickly. So fortunately I've got a fair bit of meat left on the pads, and I get good firm back braking, which really helps on this little bike. Fix the rack. I have no idea why I bothered to fix that, because it's going to be the first thing I ditch. But again, I just wanted to return him to roadworthy and completely stock form before I set to work on him. You might remember that this was completely out of whack and completely loose. Chain had way too much slack in it. So I've cleaned the chain, degreased it, re-lubed it, and I've adjusted the chain tension and straightened up the wheel, and it doesn't crab, handles a lot better, and it sort of helped fix that back brake problem. As far as it goes, one of the biggest issues was actually the back cylinder plug, and I did take them out and I cleaned them, but it was fairly late in the afternoon and I was tired and I was rushing, and I missed the fact that it had no gap. So I took them out again for some reason and was cleaning them. I was checking the plugs after fiddling with the tuning, and I discovered that there was no gap. We weren't sort of a micron or two out, there was no gap. So I gapped both plugs to stock specs, and again, it's running a whole lot better now. I have no idea how that happened, but it's fixed, and we'll just put that down to previous owner. Mirrors are fixed, so I've actually got rear vision now. Oop. Indicators all work. One of the issues I've found is that on a stock bike, it's got a little fuel pump there, and for some reason it's missing on Gilby. And when I sort of was fiddling with him, I find that he would surge and sort of starve of fuel right up in the top of his rev range. So I've sort of rerouted the fuel line, put a fuel filter in, and sort of tuned him, and he's sort of running a lot better. Some brainiac had the mixture screw screwed out 4.5 turns, and so ultimately stock is 1 3/4 to 2, and after a lot of fiddling around from sort of half through to 2.5, 3, I've got it turned out 2 full turns, and that gives me the best throttle response, and sort of, in my opinion, it's probably better to run a little bit rich than lean. So I've got him running pretty sweet now. Clutch was another issue. Clutch adjustment here was out. It was gummed up after being stored and ridden with very little oil in it. So the more I've ridden it, the more free that clutch has become. After my roadside fix, there wasn't enough play in the lever, so I've adjusted that. Put a 5-cent piece in there now, so the clutch actually fully engages and disengages now, and I don't get it slipping under load as it was before. I've dropped the oil out of it and put fresh oil in, 1.4 cubic centimeters of semi-synthetic, and again it seems to be running nicely. Seems to be sort of allowing the clutch to work properly. There's a couple of cracks in the manifold boot here, but I've done the WD-40 test and it doesn't change revs, so I'm convinced that they're not actually all the way through, but I might slicken them up anyway, and I might look at getting the fuel pump and install it, because ultimately it should have one. Some of the problem was with it running out of fuel at the top end of its performance was that it was trying to push uphill, so I've rerouted the fuel line a little bit too, so it runs flat and it doesn't seem to starve for fuel when you're at wide open throttle anymore. Freed up the choke. The plunger was stuck in the carb, so I've worked on that. So cold starts are a lot easier now. Adjusted the idle, possibly just still a fraction high. How is Gilby?
Great.
But my friends, that is Gilby in roadworthy condition. So let the modifications begin. Guys, my name is iRidetas. This is Budget Bobber Build. That's Project Gilby, and I am out.